Happy anniversary! It's our 6-month podcast anniversary for Shit Cosplayers Day.
Oh my goodness, it is, isn't it?
It is! We have been doing this for 6 months.
And we've also been doing COVID for basically 6 months.
Practically. But for today's episode, we are going to bring you some wholesome content. And as a follow-up to our Lucky in Love, we are going to tell you about the greatest love story ever told.
Our friendship story.
We're going to have to do the TLDR version, though, because otherwise this podcast would just kind of go on and on and on and on and on and on.
This podcast goes on and on and on. My friend.
Because this is a podcast that doesn't end.
It is a podcast that doesn't end sometimes.
Some people started hosting it not knowing what it was.
But they continued hosting it forever just because.
Yep, exactly.
That's pretty accurate, actually. We still don't know what this podcast is. It's fine.
We talked about this in episode 1. We are cosplayers, and we say shit. The end.
That is the end. That is pretty much how that goes.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Goodness. I guess we start at the beginning.
I guess we start. We're gonna take you back. Way
to convention days of old.
To the days of old. In the early 2000s. Anime Iowa. 2001?
1.
Yes.
Technically, for this story to begin, we need to back up a little bit more. Because back in 2000, I joined an online Sailor Moon cosplay group called Senshi Mysterious.
Oh my god, I forgot about this. I forgot that's what we were called first.
All that we did back in the day was Sailor Moon cosplay. And then I actually got to go to my first con the following year, which was Anime Central of 2001, which is the first convention there is photographic evidence of both Elle and I being at the same time. But we didn't meet then. We might have passed each other in the hallway or what have you, but because I do remember seeing her friend that was with her, who was in a very lovely Deedla outfit. That is neither here nor there, because I was super into Lotus at the time. So yeah, Senshi Mysterious. So then we fast forward to Anime Iowa, and I get to see some of my con friends again. And I go to the masquerade, in which Elle performs on stage with her friend who does Deedla and a group of other Lotus cosplayers doing Welcome to Lotus Island. Which is essentially the cute little chippy episodes after the actual episodes of every episode of Lotus War.
That's right.
And it was freaking adorable. And they got Best in Show.
That was my first Best in Show forever ago when it didn't matter so much how well your costumes were made.
Now, at the time, I believe that he was still our second vice president. Or maybe, no, he was our first vice president. Our vice president of Senshi Mysterious approached Elle and her friends, and you'll have to talk a little bit more about that interaction because I was not personally involved. I just know that it happened. About joining our group.
I mean, basically, Eric came and talked to us and was like, I'm going to be changing our group to more of an all-inclusive cosplay group, and we like to do big performances, and we want you guys to come join us. And that's basically all that was. That's how that went.
Yes.
And then we did.
More or less. So fast forward, and we actually ended up changing our name to Sodesne Cosplay, which we were a part of for quite a while. And they did some projects and whatnot. Elle and I actually performed for the first time together on accident.
Yes! Yes, we did.
So I was actually a part of this particular group because our group was so big and people were all over the country. So we did a bunch of different cons, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest. this was the first time that I got to participate in the group, and it was exciting. Elle actually wasn't participating, but she wrote the skit, as she does, because she likes to do the thing.
My job primarily for So Destiny was to write their skits for them. But I was tired of being in all of them, so I wasn't supposed to be in this one.
But at the very last second, Elle's close friend got stage fright and decided that she didn't want to go on stage anymore. And conveniently, Elle knew all of the lines, because this, of course, was back when you had to do it live. But as the writer of said skit, Elle knew all of the lines and was approximately the same size, so fit into the costume and got to go on as the lead.
Yes, I did. We did the violinist of Hamelin, if you want to talk old. Good lord.
Yep. So that's how Elle became my daughter-in-law.
That's right. That is how that happened.
Yep. That was a fun
thing.
We got interviewed for like a news station, and
That's right.
2 of the characters in the group were moms, and the convention was on Mother's Day. So they asked all the children cosplayers, okay, so what did you get your moms for Mother's Day? And they're all just like,
I forgot about that. I just remember the giant piano.
Well,
the giant foam
as
piano.
you do. It's a good time.
Because this was also before people made, like, really massive props. And Violinist of Hamelin, everyone has, like, massive instrument props.
Yeah, all have oversized instruments.
And we totally had a giant baby grand piano that had to be carried around.
It's true. Actually, after that, you're welcome. They came up with the rules for how much costume you could have sticking off of your body that wasn't soft, and what size of props you could carry in the hallways.
That's right, the 6-inch rule did come after that, didn't it?
I feel like I should turn that into a joke, but I feel like I would do a disservice to Zach.
Yeah, no one can ever do as good of a 6-inch joke as Stripper Vash did for... Why am I forgetting the con?
Oh no, it was Asa, and I don't remember which. I think it might have been the next year, 05.
It was the, like, 18 plus con.
Oh, well, he also did one at ASN because I watched it.
Oh. No, the really epic performance was done at
Reactor?
Reactor. Yeah. Yeah. Which we'll tell the story of Reactor at some point. I feel like people need to know about its existence.
There's so many dead cons like that.
I never did attend We should just do an episode about dead cons.
Dead cons. Dead infamous cons. Not just dead cons, because some of them are boring and don't deserve to be talked about. But if you have any infamous dead con stories, let us know.
Dashcon.
Yeah, you got a ball pit stuck in your throat there, or what?
I had to go get an extra hour.
Yeah.
An extra hour in that ball pit.
Well, I can write you a prescription for that, but it's going to be about $17,000.
That ball pit would totally not be allowed now because COVID. You'd have to clean it like every time someone got in it.
To be fair, it shouldn't have been allowed in the first place.
Oh, Dashcon.
So, anyway, we did that, and the group actually got super quiet after that skit.
A
bunch of people
I performed
moved.
by myself the following year.
A lot of people graduated, and a lot of people moved, and just didn't really have time for the group a whole lot anymore. And we had a rule that you had to have at least 2 members to use the name. So Elle actually had to get special permission the next year to do a performance with her then boyfriend and use the name because there was nobody else from the group in it with her.
That performance is actually why one of our friends now even has any idea who I was. Yes,
Yep.
our friend Sarah was apparently obsessed with the skit when we were younger and it had first happened and it was on YouTube. And then when I met her like 5 years ago or so and we started doing cons again, and she saw me and she looked at me and she was like, "Oh my God, you're Renoa." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Pow pow squall. You're the Renoa from the skit from ASEN." And I'm like, "Oh my God, yes I am."
That's awesome.
Because I did a skit with Squall and Renoa. which involved Top Gun references. It involved Napoleon Dynamite references. And Reclam the Lotus Island. It's on our YouTube.
It's a good time.
I got an award from Scott McNeil. That's all that really mattered.
I mean, anything from Scott McNeil is all that really matters.
That's true. Because nothing beats Scott McNeil coming up to you after your Violinist of Hamelin skit and saying, I always enjoy when you're on stage every year, and I about died. Not gonna lie.
Aw. I love it.
About died. I fangirled a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. He's Duo from Gundam Wing. I about died.
You obviously lived, so here you are.
I did. I think we would go out of our way to go to a convention if Scott McNeil was guesting.
Scott McNeil or Crispin Freeman.
We missed Crispin Freeman. He was at a con recently. Like last year.
I know.
But that was a con that shall not be named that we decided not to go to.
Yeah, we had already decided not to go to the con before they announced him, and we're like, no, Crispin Freeman. Someday.
So now we have to fast forward because we both went to college, and there's like a 7 or 8 year gap. Because I went to college and then moved to New York.
Yes. And I went to college and then ran a LARP. So we did other creative things instead.
But then I, as you do when you move to New York City, ran out of money.
Yep.
Because they don't pay you anything in the entertainment business in New York. So I was working in PR and talent management, making like maybe $12 to $15 an hour in New York City with like an $1,100 a month apartment. And it just it wasn't working. I was done with the entertainment business. I had decided to come back to go to school. I decided to try to come back in general. And I tried to live in Chicago for a little bit. And then I decided to kind of come back to the area to try to go back to school. And that's basically when we, like, re-linked up. But I'm forgetting how that actually started.
So, actually, it was our Eric, who we talked about earlier.
Oh, that's right.
About. He made a Facebook group and found all of us, more or less.
That's right. We had, like, a reminiscing group.
Yeah. I mean, and we vaguely talked about getting the band back together, but for the most part, it was just us kind of, like, catching up and BSing about old times, and that's how we reconnected, though. And then we did decide, hey, we want to do the thing. So there weren't very many people that were really interested in doing the thing anymore because they had all gone on to live a responsible adult lives and just didn't have time for it, or they didn't have the interest in it like we did because we're both theater kids. So, you know, the show must go on. So we decided that we were going to continue, and that's pretty much how Lobby Cosplay started. We first decided to do a charity event at it was for a children's hospital for their NICU unit, and just go and show up in character and hang out with the kids, and it was a really fun time. So during the weekend for that, we actually stayed, there was a small group of us, we stayed in a hotel room together and just kind of schemed and talked about cosplay plans and dreams and stuff that we thought would be fun to do. And so we went ahead and made some plans for the following year and then started implementing those plans for the following year.
Somehow we ended up doing Hetalia.
Well, that's because somebody else that was there wanted to do Hetalia.
Okay, but that skit is hysterical.
They really wanted to do Hetalia, and I'm like, I've never seen it, but I'm down for whatever. I want to cosplay with my friends and perform on stage. So we decided, and we're like, well, you know, this really sounds like the end of the world from E-Bomb's World, or Albino Black Sheep, or whoever had posted it first. Then we have to pull it up on our phones at this point and then giggle about it because we're like, this is perfect. So we scheme and we make plans. And
pretty sweet end, you might say. Wrong. It
was a good time, and we had some silly shenanigans with it.
That's also on our YouTube. These are all on our YouTube.
It was a good time. That was our first shenanigans experience. Of course, we ran into some of those cosplay problems that we talked about last week in our group episode, and some things just didn't work out, and that's fine. And our next thing that we had planned didn't work out for so many reasons. So many reasons. So ultimately, instead of forcing ourselves to do something that weekend, we decided to take a break and revisit the following year. Hopefully at the same con, which that didn't end up happening, but that's okay. We just all cosplayed and walked around. That was the first time at ASIN that year, which was a couple weeks after Anime St. Louis, which is where we did the Hatalia skit. We just kind of walked around and had fun, and we went to the All My Goddess meetup on Sunday, and we just had some shenanigans, and it was a good time.
We were the only Erden Skuld.
Well, of course, we were the only Erden Skuld. But during this entire time, like, we're getting together to work on cosplay stuff constantly. It just worked out. Sometimes she would drive to my house, and sometimes I would drive up to her, and we would just kind of, do our thing because we got stuff to do. And it's been forever since either of us has done it, and we kind of need to get back in the swing of things. And that's kind of pretty much how our friendship first blossomed. Some other people were like, well, why are they so close? Well, that's because we spend all of our time together. If you were here too, then you would experience this.
I don't think we actually expected when we reunited to become as close as we are.
No, absolutely. Because we weren't super close in the beginning.
No.
Like, I knew that you were, like, in the group, and I knew your name, and that was... But I, like, never stayed in the group hotel rooms where they sardined people in. I just kind of, like, showed up peripherally, and I'm like, that looks like fun. I wish I was involved.
I mean,
that was the extent of it.
It's one of those where you don't ever know where you're gonna find your best friend. It might just happen.
I know. It's so crazy, so...
Well, then our first performance as Lavi cosplay was us randomly deciding to do a skit we wrote on the way back from Anime Central at a small local convention.
It's true. So we decided on our way back from ASUN, because we had such a fun time playing Erden Skuld, that we were going to go to a local con that was local to Elle. We were just going to stay at Elle's, and we were going to do a skit. And so we pretty much, like, wrote the skit in the car on the way home and then fleshed it out on paper later. It was cute. We decided not to compete for craftsmanship because we were still kind of trying to figure out the ins and outs. And I'm like, well, I feel like this is really rushed and I don't want to necessarily do that. But at the same time, like, I don't know, we had some mixed feelings about it. And we decided just to compete for performance for a variety of reasons and ended up getting best performance. And it was a good time. But that was the first Wishes skit that we did, which is also on our YouTube channel.
Yes, all of these are on the YouTube channel, guys. They're all there.
It's such a sweet. They're so fun. I just enjoy their character dynamics.
I know.
So
we need to remake those.
But it only got worse from there. So then we've gone on to do other crazy things and win other awards and best-ins, and now we get to go to Spain together. We were maids of honor at each other's weddings and all that kind of fun stuff. My spouse refers to our time together as dates.
Yes. I feel like neither of them would be particularly surprised if we were dating each other. We're basically dating each other. How does your stepmom put it? We have a very unique relationship.
Yes, she does. She does refer. Yes, you guys have a very unique relationship. But they love you, so,
right,
it's
okay. So it's fine. Our spouses put up with it. It's fine.
That's also true.
Put up with it is also the accurate description of that.
I mean, they knew what they were getting into.
That's true. You were here first. For me, anyway.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, we've made a ton of friends, though, along the way. And actually, people find it really weird when we're at cons not at the same time, which happens occasionally. Like, when I was in grad school and had to do rotations, I went to some places. Or maybe she had school breaks and I couldn't take time off of work and go, or I had other conflicting events and she would go instead. They're like, it's so weird that there's only one of you.
I know, we're collectively known as the Lavies, plural, and they don't really know what to do when the two of us are not present. We have had some great friend shenanigans, but I do think my favorite is when we stole Lorare cosplay and made her go to GeekCon.
Yeah, so we're going to go back to our project that we didn't want to talk about.
The project that shall not be named.
The project that shall not be named.
We probably should just name it so people know what project we're talking about.
Sword Art Online, we were originally going to do at Anime Central in 2014. And we're like, there's no way. This is just not a thing. So we ended up deciding to postpone it. When we put together our con schedule for the following summer, we decided we're going to do like a chain. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to go to Colossal Con, which at that point they considered us to still be in the novice category, because pretty much when you take like a 10-year break off of competing, they erase all of your awards. Or at least they did at the time, because back when we first competed, there weren't specific craftsmanship requirements. They didn't have divisions as far as skill categories go or anything like that. So competing back then was nothing like it is now. So we pretty much had to start over, which was fine. It was a learning experience, to say the least. We decided that we were going to go to Colossal Con. After Colossal Con, if, nothing happened, we were going to take it to Anime Iowa, which was a con that we had met at. And we thought that would be super fun. We had other friends that were going to be competing at Anime Iowa. And then we're like, technically, as long as we don't win Best in Show, we would only be considered novice, or if we won something, we'd be considered journeyman at Anime Iowa. As long as we don't get Best in Show, then we can go to GeekCon the following month and do the skit again, as long as we go up to Masters, because they let you do that.
Colossal Con, we ended up getting a Judge's Choice Award, which at Colossal Con's not the easiest thing to do.
So we got a Judge's Choice at Colossal Con, which was super exciting and not necessarily something that we expected. And that bumped us up to Journeyman for Anime Iowa. So we competed at Journeyman, Anime Iowa, and we're like, cool, because as long as we don't get Best in Show, then we can take these and enter them as Masters at GeekCon, because that's how their rules are written. And then we got Best in Show at Anime Iowa, and we're like,
whoops.
Well, shit. We want to go to the con and we want to perform, but we don't have any costumes.
So at the same time, our friend Lorira Cosplay, who has made this incredible hand-embroidered Lulu costume, didn't place at Anime Iowa for various reasons that the judges had given. And she was really, really bummed about not placing at Anime Iowa with this hand-embroidered dress and all of this.
Yeah, she spent years working on this hand embroidery, and it was made out of pleather, and it was gorgeous.
Hers was a good example of you should compete with people at the same level as you.
Right, because she was a group entry, and there was definitely
imbalance.
Not just for necessarily like how long people had been crafting, but also as far as like visual balance, because her costume was super intricate and super over the top, embellished to the nines. And then by comparison, the other ones were kind of boring, to put it flatly. They were really flat, and kind of what you expect necessarily from like a brand new novice. It's just kind of learning, compared to this like work of art that she had made. Huge difference when you're visually looking at them on stage. I didn't see them close up, so I cannot talk about how well crafted they were, but just as far as visual balance, hers had a lot more going on and was a lot more intricate.
So we get this harebrained scheme.
Because once upon a time, I had cosplayed Yuna from Final Fantasy X, and I'm like, well, that would be fun to make again.
We think it's a good idea to make Riku and Yuna in 6 weeks and do a skit for GeekCon.
Was it 6? I was thinking it was 4.
I think we had 6 weeks. But we ended up having 4 to craft because it took 2 weeks for the supplies to get mailed.
Yeah, so this scheme happened on, I think, Sunday of the con. Maybe Saturday night we had decided. And I think by Sunday we had told her that we had decided and that she wanted to come with us, and because we're going to go to the con anyway, because we had already taken time off for it and we'd already bought badges and we had the hotel room reserved and it was going to be just a good, relaxing, like fun time. We're like, you're going to come to the con with us and we're going to combine our powers and we're going to do the thing together and we'll have a good time. It's going to be fun. Luckily, Elle was off of school. So we're like driving back and forth to each other's houses and mailing stuff, and we had to order. This is when we're talking about that project management triangle last time. There was no time. We had to take what we could get as far as supplies, and we had to spend whatever it would cost because there was no option. because there was no time.
I think I did 40, 50 hours of painting in a week. They got done.
We'll throw a picture in the Instagram post for you guys. They did get done. They did get put together. We did go on stage with Larry. And we got Best in Show.
We did a rendition of, what's it called?
So there's this comedy group called the Dead Ale Wives Club. And they did a Dungeons and Dragons style skit once. And we decided that we were going to do a parody of it. And it was called Fortresses and Summoners.
I'm attacking the darkness.
Yes. So, and we're throwing all sorts of pop culture references around. And essentially, Lulu, the ever straight-faced, was our dungeon master. And then Riku and Yuna were playing the game.
But I was not. I was more concerned about snacks than actually playing the game.
Well, yeah. I mean, where's the Mountain Dew?
Can I have the Cheetos too? Hey, Lou, I'm not in the room, right? What? I want to summon something.
So we had a lot of shenanigans. The judges graciously gave us Best in Show for a combination of our combined crafting. I'm going to say mostly Liz.
Mostly Liz.
I'm gonna say mostly Larry for that because of course in between the con she just spent that much more time working on, you know, improving all the stuff that she got feedback on from the Anime Iowa judges, and then adding like another 50 hours worth of embellishments.
Although I'm gonna give we wore those costumes into the ground after that though.
We did.
We almost need to remake them because they're so frequently requested. And
I know.
we ran these poor things into the ground.
They're
very comfortable.
to wear.
They're really easy to wear.
They're very pretty.
But I mean, the only part of Riku I ever got remade was her wig.
They're nice to look at. They need to be remade because they are fun to wear and I enjoy them. But yeah, so that's how our friendship went from like acquaintanceship to like full friendship blossoming with Larry was our weekend getaway to Wisconsin.
That's right.
And eating at Sprecher's and getting victory pie.
I'm so sad that Sprecher's isn't there anymore. I know.
Tragic,
I don't want to go
really.
to. I don't want to. Like GeekCon doesn't exist anymore. But
I was gonna say you could not want to go to GeekCon all you want, but the con closed and stopped hosting events.
I just want to go to.
That's
Sprecher's.
not really a problem.
Can we have a con at Sprecher's?
At Sprecher's Con.
It'd be great.
I mean, maybe. That being said, we will not clog up all of our time with talking about ourselves. We do have some wholesome content listener stories for you.
So we had some people send in their convention friendship stories. And conveniently enough, the first one has to do with Anime Iowa.
I love it.
Which I love. So our first story comes from Spitfire Cosplay. She, her pronouns. And Spitfire Cosplay's story starts. So it used to be a tradition for my best friends and I to go to Anime Iowa each year at the Coralville Marriott. Woohoo! Back at the Marriott! There was a little town gas station about a quarter of the way through our drive, and we would always stop and get ice cream there. Well, one year, we took a wrong turn that led us down a path of detours and road construction until finally we got to a low-maintenance road. These are the type of roads where it's literally just grass and maybe some tire marks, and we were like, all right, let's do it. We go down the road and almost get stuck in the mud a few times. We see a paved road ahead and are celebrating the possibility of not getting murdered on a back road in a bad horror movie-esque fashion when someone jumps out in front of our car. It was a construction guy. Apparently, the paved road we stumbled upon was closed and currently being paved. The construction guy looks at how dirty our car is now because of the whole low-maintenance road in the mud and looks at us, 4 young adults, and is like, just drive on this road. And then he was like, I'll let the rest of my team know that I gave you the clear. You'll just need to get off this road at the earliest possibility, which should be about a turn a few miles ahead. So we go on our merry way, and when we turn, guess what was right in front of us? The little gas station. We all practically ran out of the car, and the ice cream was acquired. Now, that was almost 7 years ago, but my friends and I still talk about getting lost on the way to Anime, Iowa.
I love it.
This reminds me of, like, the first time we drove to Daisho and we took the back roads instead of the main highway. And we were like, what are we driving on? And are we actually ever going to get to this convention?
And then there was, like, that, like, weird freak snowstorm, like, in the middle of November. We're like, it's 80 degrees outside. Like, oddly, why is there
driving
snow?
These country roads, and, like, there's all these weird random houses and all these, like, off-road attractions while we're driving through. Because apparently, according to the GPS, this was the most direct way to the Wisconsin Dells, but I disagree.
It was the fastest way. Allegedly,
but it definitely is not faster.
So on the way home, we decided to take the interstate the entire way instead. Even if it was longer miles, because technically, if you go in a straight line, that is going to be your most direct path. But we're like, I like, nice roads and not back roads for hours at a time. And we were like, are we lost? I'm so confused.
Do you remember we had to get off the road and hide in a Joe's Crab Shack for like an hour and a half because it was torrential downpouring on the way back from Colossal Con?
On the way back from Colossal Con, yes. I'm pretty sure that Joe's Crab Shack is also closed now, which is super sad. But yeah, you couldn't see. It was raining so hard. And we legit parked right across from the door at the Joe's Crab Shack, and we're still both drenched to the bone by the time we got inside. But then we had seafood and dried off a little bit. We did. And the weather cleared up, and then all was fine.
I think it's also, it's Colossal Con where there's that little, like, diner that's connected to the gas station that has the wagon wheel in the front of it, too. I think that, or is that Minnesota?
Maybe. I don't. Oh, that was on the way to Minnesota.
Because there's this, like, little diner thing we like to stop on our way to Minnesota. And not go the wrong way while you're going to Minnesota at the Indiana, that was when we went to Colossal Con. We went to Colossal Con, and you could either go to Indiana or go towards Ohio and, or Illinois or Indiana, and Michigan. It's really easy to go the wrong way. Or Michigan. Maybe it's a Michigan split. Yeah,
it's when you're coming out of Chicago, you can either, if you don't pay, like, super close attention, then you'll miss your...
Because we've done it. We've gone to Michigan instead.
We have gone to Michigan. It's right there, so it's not like...
Well, but when we were going to Yoma, we had to remind ourselves that we actually wanted to go to Michigan and not go the direction towards Ohio, because we're used to going the Ohio direction.
We'll get there eventually. If we make a mistake, the GPS will correct us. Now we just need to stop traveling long distances in the rain.
We have really bad luck with that.
We do. We have really bad luck with weather. If our trip is over 3 hours, it is inevitably going to, downpour on us at the most inconvenient time possible.
If you haven't listened to episode 2, go listen to our adventure in trying to get to YomaCon this past year. Let's hope we never have a trip like that ever again.
So next we have the story from Jillian and BB Design Cosplay, she, her pronouns. Hey, I have a friendship story. Now, I didn't meet my friend at a con, but she introduced me to all things con and cosplay. She's at BB Design Cosplay on Instagram. It started in high school. Brittany, or B for short, showed me and another friend the magical forums of cosplay.com. I know, right? I used to waste so many hours of my life on that website.
Pretty sure it still exists. You can go down memory lane.
Nobody ever talks about it anymore, so I don't know. Is it still popular?
I think ACP replaced it, but that's not popular anymore either, so...
We spent hours looking at everyone's cosplay, and she was the first of us to actually cosplay. It was still about another 3 years before I gained the confidence to cosplay as well during Anime Detour 2009. Back then, I would get easily overwhelmed, so B came over and would help me create lists, find tutorials, and thread a sewing machine to make my very first cosplay. It's been history ever since. We've been cosplaying together for almost 14 years now and competing together for the last 4. We almost always do partner cosplays together, from Tigress and Po from Kung Fu Panda to Shenron and Purunga from DBZ. We were always good friends, but cosplay turned a good friendship into a great friendship. That's super relatable because we also do a lot of partner cosplays, whether they just be people that go together or romantic couples or parent and child or siblings.
Or romantic couples.
So nice you have to say it twice.
Because that's pretty much all we cosplay anymore.
Well, and depending on how you ship it, there's a lot of people we can make romantic couples
That's
that aren't.
very true. There's pretty much a ship of everything, so. I also thought this was really cute because we actually know BB Design. We've met her at some of our Minnesota conventions before, and B is very sweet and a lot of fun to be around. I can just see like these two like young teen girls sitting on the computer swooning over cosplay.com. Like, how adorable. Which, granted, we all used to do that too.
I was going to say, I find that super relatable because I used to spend hours on a fansview.com
Oh my gosh,
doing
yes!
the exact same thing.
Yes, we used to sit on that and just like scroll through it.
That was like my favorite thing to do every weekend was to look through the pictures that Kevin was uploading.
But you know, you had to wait for them to load because dial up.
Yeah, well, but also he had to upload them, and typically he got the internet at the con, so he could upload them while he was there. So at least by like Saturday morning, I could look at the pictures from Friday, and yeah, that was like the highlight of my weekend was going through all of the cosplay photos from all these different cons across the country.
We have one more friendship story for today. This one was sent in by Lavi. My name is Lavi. What a coincidence. My pronouns are they, them. Thank you for normalizing pronouns. And I have a very wholesome story that I thought you would enjoy. This story is the story of how I met my best friend. It takes place 3 years ago when I was in 6th grade, and I went to a performing arts middle school, and all of my friends were either theater kids or cosplayers. Why was I not at this school?
Because you weren't in middle school 3 years ago.
That's true. I was in middle school way longer time than that. I want to go to this school. Voltron was huge at the time, and one of my friends had basically forced me to cosplay Lance with his Keith. And that is when I started to love cosplay and also theater. I had ended up in the yearly musical and meeting my now BFF named Titi. She just so happened to also be interested in cosplay and anime, which made us bond even more. The next year, we ended up cosplaying together, and the year after that, and hopefully again this year. I am so thankful to cosplay for giving us that time and to have fun together, and I hope we can cosplay with each other for a very long time. Lavi also wants us to know, your podcast and dynamic with each other reminds me of my best friend and me, so thank you for that. I hope this email brought you a bit of joy, and I hope you have a great day.
Aww.
Thanks, Lavi.
It does. It does bring me joy.
I love that their friendship, like, blossomed their theater bug as well, because it totally did that for us, too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've always had the theater bug, but we kind of, like...
We made it worse.
Yeah, we fuel each other's theater bug. So, theater people have this, like... And performers in general have this, like, deep ingrained need to be on stage. But as you get older, it becomes harder and harder to fulfill that need. Like, a lot of community theater projects just aren't reasonable with adult jobs and adult lives, and it's hard to find performance outlets for adults that aren't, you know, necessarily in, like, the burlesque scene. It can be kind of rough. And we definitely, you know, our friendship was part of our solution to our performance bug that we needed to fill. Cons give us that, like, little bit of theater that we need to, like, keep going without being overwhelmed.
I love it. I love our wholesome content episodes. They just give me the warm and fuzzy.
I know. It's nice to have some wonderful, heartwarming things every once in a while. And it's also good to be reminded that, like, cosplay should be about those things. And friendship and having fun and meeting people and developing relationships. And less of a focus on, like, how great your costume is and, you know, whether you're getting enough social media attention or enough attention at the con. A lot of times that stuff will matter a lot less if you're enjoying your time, especially if you're enjoying your time with other people.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're very excited to see some of our cosplay friends very soon and have shenanigans. Well, and do remember, if you all have any stories you want to tell us, whether it be cosplay, convention, fandom related, you can always DM us on either Instagram or email us at podcastscs@gmail.com.
So we're going to leave you with this warm and fuzzy feeling that you probably all have right now. Again, I'm Ashlyn.
I'm Elle.
We are Lavi Cosplay.
And this is Shit Cosplaying Friends Say, because friendship is magic.
You've been listening to Shit Cosplayers Say, an LVC production. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Podcast SCS. Our website is lavicosplay.com. Have a fun, crazy con or cosplay-related story, absurd cosplay question, or just something in general to share with us? Email us at podcastscs@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and remember, just because you can doesn't mean you should.